What is up, and welcome back to another episode of Blood and Beer, the show where we talk blood sport and we drink beer. This episode today is all about the PFL, their 2026 outlook. They just released their initial rankings. They've been making big moves over there. We're going to be talking about it all, breaking it down, and seeing what the future might hold for 2026 and beyond for the PFL. Like I said, a lot of big moves have been made. They've switched out players at the executive level with Ray Sefo and Don Davis leaving the company. John Martin's fully taken charge, and he's implemented a lot of new tactics, a new format for the PFL. First thing they did was eliminate the tournament, eliminate the season format. They're going to be moving to a more traditional fight promotion format to where just the best fight the best. You work your way up the rankings to get a title shot. There's not a million different titles, not a million different subsections in the promotion that makes it convoluted and confusing, a little bit hard to follow. That was one big change that they made. They also just came out with their new rankings. The rankings, it's a good thing. They needed to come out with rankings because before on the PFL, you would just see two guys fighting, and most people don't know who a lot of the PFL fighters are. They don't know who Alfie Davis is, who Archie Colgan is, who Paul Hughes is even. And they see them fighting, no number next to their name, so you don't know what the fight means. If you're flipping through the channels, you turn on PFL, you see 1 versus 2 or 1 versus 3. That means something. That makes the fight matter to a casual viewer that's like, I don't watch, but these guys are clearly good. They're clearly fighting for something. The winner of this is probably going to fight for the belt. So this is huge for the PFL in terms of just being able to garner interest and make their product more easier to follow, if that makes sense. It's not a bunch of shit that they're throwing out there anymore. It's a little bit more organized. You're going to have a title. You're going to have a 1 through 10 ranking, and it also lets people watch somebody climb through the ranks. It lets you follow a fighter's career, see a guy that goes from unranked to number 10 to number 7 to number 5 to getting that title shot to becoming the champion. That's a way better story than a guy that just won 5 random PFL fights, fell into a title shot, wins or loses, but then if he loses, nobody cares. If he wins, nobody knows about him. That's not a problem they're going to be running into anymore. Now PFL is going to have it organized. It's just going to be a little bit more uniform, a little bit cleaner to watch with that. So, in the initial rankings, they're not great. I didn't agree with a lot of them when they came out. Paul Hughes ranked as the number 4 lightweight title when he had 2 razor close fights with the number 1 Umar Nurmagomedov. He sits below Archie Colgan, below Alfie Davis. So that's a little bit weird to me. There was just some weirdness to the rankings. I don't have them pulled up in front of me here, but some weirdness nonetheless. John Martin, though, he's been on a roll since taking over with these rankings, with the change to the format. This is a huge year for the PFL because with all those changes that have been made, is this still a losing battle for them? Because now that UFC is no longer on ESPN, and this is the last year of PFL's broadcast deal, it's going to pose a problem for them. Because when UFC was with ESPN, PFL received the diehard fans as a trickle down. When UFC left, there was a huge exodus of the MMA fans, and PFL is going to get a little bit left in the dust. And if the UFC leaving wasn't a big enough blow, they're also being pushed from ESPN Plus, which is about $12.99 a month. Now they're on ESPN Unlimited, which is $29.99 a month. And unless you're a WWE fan, you're probably not subscribed to the ESPN Unlimited at this point. And I don't see a lot of people paying $30 a month to watch the 1 to 2 PFL events that they're putting out there. It's not sustainable to think. So we can conclude probably PFL's leaving ESPN this year, but how much damage will they take here in 2026? Yes, they've made all these fan-friendly decisions, made smart moves, turning into a real fight promotion. But is it gonna work out? Because if nobody watches you all year, is that going to be enough to put the nail in the coffin? They've had bad year after bad year for about 3 years now. They haven't had a real quality year since 2021 or 2022, and even then, you got to move the goalpost to call it a quality year when you compare it to what a Bellator had done at the time, or in the time before it, what UFC had done prior to all that strike force. PFL's been and this isn't a shit on PFL post, but they have been the worst number 2 promotion that we've seen since MMA's come into the picture, really. There's always been a number 2 that's definitely been little brother to UFC or Pride, but still sustainable, still something you want to watch. PFL has found themselves at points where nobody wants to watch them. They have no reason to get you to watch. Now they're going to be doing that. There's a reason to watch. There's continuity. It's easier to follow. But being hidden behind that paywall of ESPN Unlimited, will they be able to get enough views to stay alive? Enough people? Will they be forgotten about? I guess is what I'm saying. Will people just say, I can't tune into every PFL fight because it's $30 a month. They put on 2 cards a month, and it's not for me. I think that's going to be a real problem. I wonder how they're going to navigate these waters. I know they just got a huge investor or investment deal that they announced where they got a lot more money coming in. That's great. But if nobody can watch you, what's it all mean? They need to get through this year and find a quality broadcast partner for 2027 and beyond. A streaming service would be fine. They don't need to go to linear TV the way an LFA did with who are they on now? Is it oh Vice? They don't need to go with a smaller TV promotion. I really think PFL would benefit by not being on linear television because linear TV is dying. We see cable subscriptions dropping year over year. I worked for the cable company. I watched it happen. When people realize they can get what they want through streaming, they cut the cord. And when you put your product on that cable program, you're limiting yourself to who's going to watch. You're on live TV, that's great, but such fewer people have cable now than they did 10 years ago. So they need to really be careful with this going into business for themselves. PFL app, that probably wouldn't be sustainable because I don't think they're going to bring in enough money off ad revenue alone in subscriptions if they charged a fee monthly. I don't know what they'd have to charge. But to stay afloat, you'd like to see them go somewhere where it's a little bit wider used of a streaming platform. Maybe they stick with the Disney family and go to a Hulu or go to a. They probably wouldn't go to Disney because Disney's going to send all their sports to ESPN. But go to a Hulu. Can't really think of anywhere else they could go because Netflix isn't going to pick up a PFL. HBO Max is a little bit high dollar for what they offer, and they haven't been interested in combat sports for quite some time. CBS, I guess you could try to go there, but how's UFC going to feel if Paramount CBS says, yeah, we'll take PFL too? It'd be great for PFL just to be able to get those trickle down diehard fans that I was talking about earlier. But I don't know. They're just in a tough spot. The UFC has so much power. There's not a lot of great options for them. Maybe taking a step back and just planning on building the product. I don't know how big these investments are for them, what they're spending each year, how far it can carry them. But maybe doing a regional promotion idea where they just air on YouTube live. They just put their product on YouTube for a year, let the fan base grow, let it get huge, and then you can move to a streaming platform. I think that might be better than just going and signing with the highest bidder because one of the biggest quarrels I've had with the PFL over the past 10, well, I think they've been around 9 years, but they've been around 9 years or so. Over the past 6 years, really, everything they do, instead of being a MMA move, it's more of a business move. They run it like it's a business, like it's a Fortune 500, and it does take the soul out of it a little bit. Lucky for them, the UFC is great at taking the soul out of things, so that's nothing out of the norm. But I wonder if they'll sign a great big colossal deal with someone that or somewhere that nobody really watches or nobody's going to remember. I'm not sure. But PFL, they've got I've just got some questions for them. Can they survive this year? Can they find a good broadcasting home? Is John Martin fighting a losing battle with all these great changes that he's making? Will the product last after this year? And if the PFL does go under, who's going to step in and take the place as that number 2 promotion? Is it going to be Ryzen? Is it going to be GFL? They say they're making a comeback. Is it going to be LFA? It'll be interesting to see really just how the landscape of MMA plays out because a lot of it depends on the PFL. But that's all I got for you. Thanks for tuning in. This has been Blood and Beer, just a quick little episode to drop in throughout the week. PFL dropped the rankings. I had to respond.